When thinking of the Big Three era of the Miami Heat, former floor general Mario Chalmers likely isn't the first name to pop into the minds of fans. His career averages with the Heat of 8.8 points and 3.8 assists per game weren't necessarily anything to write home about, but he was Miami's starting point guard for both of its title runs in 2012 and 2013. According to Heat legend Dwayne Wade, Miami wouldn't have won the way it won in those years if not for Chalmers' contributions. Miami played a grand total of 46 playoff games across the 2012 and 2013 NBA playoffs, and Chalmers started all of those contests and shot 35.6% from three-point range on 3.5 attempts per game in that stretch. In the 2012 NBA playoffs, he was probably Miami's fourth best defensive player behind only the likes of Wade, forward LeBron James, and big man Chris Bosh. Chalmers scored 11.3 points per contest in that year's playoffs, which ranked fourth on the team. Chalmers proved to be an ideal complementary player next to the Big Three during the course of the era, and it wasn't until long after the trio had split up that his tenure playing for the Heat came to an end. He last played for Miami in the 2015-16 season before he was traded to the Memphis Grizzlies and finished out the campaign in Memphis. Chalmers last suited up for an NBA team when he appeared in 66 games with the Grizzlies in the 2017-18 campaign. Wade's comments on Chalmers serve as a good reminder that it took more than production from Bosh, Wade, and James for the Heat to win consecutive NBA championships over a decade ago. For as much as the NBA is a star-driven league, basketball is still a team sport. Chalmers is just one example of a role player who was majorly important to a team that achieved the ultimate goal. He should be fondly remembered by fans of the Heat for his contributions in those championship seasons, and it's fun to think about whether Miami would have still won back-to-back titles without him. One way for NBA teams to find salary cap relief is to use the waive and stretch provision, but the final day to take advantage of that option is approaching. The NBA deadline to waive and stretch a player's contract to create salary cap relief for this upcoming season is Friday at 5 p.m. According to a league source, the Heat is leaning against using the waive and stretch provision before this week's deadline. The stretch provision allows for a team to waive a player and stretch his remaining salary on the salary cap twice the number of years remaining on the player's contract plus 1 year. For example, waiving and stretching guard Terry Rozier would reduce his cap hit from the $26.7 million he's due this upcoming season in the final year of his contract to an $8.9 million cap hit in each of the next 3 seasons. The downside of using the stretch provision is that a player's salary remains on a team's books beyond the initially scheduled year. The Heat has gone the waive and stretch route before, using it on A.J. Hammonds in 2018 and Ryan Anderson in 2019. But that list is not expected to grow this year, with the Heat already under the luxury tax threshold after dumping Haywood Highsmith's salary in a trade with the Brooklyn Nets earlier this month. This eliminates any sense of urgency the Heat might have felt to get under the luxury tax line that could have led to Miami using the stretch provision. The Heat actually could just waive Rozier and create an additional $1.7 million of room below the tax line because only $24.9 million of Rozier's $26.6 million salary for this upcoming season is currently guaranteed. This would give Miami enough space under the luxury tax threshold to add another player to a standard contract before the start of the season. The Heat currently has 14 players on standard contracts for this upcoming season, one below the NBA regular season limit of 15 players on standard deals. The Heat also currently stands about $1.7 million under the luxury tax threshold and about $7.2 million below the punitive first apron of $195.9 million that it can't cross until the end of this upcoming season following last month's trade for guard Norman Powell. After finishing as a luxury tax team in each of the past 2 seasons, the Heat was determined to escape the luxury tax for this upcoming season in order to avoid the onerous repeater tax that's triggered when a team crosses the luxury tax threshold in 4 straight seasons or 4 times during a 5-season period. While 18 players, 15 on standard contracts and 3 on two-way contracts, is the regular season limit, NBA teams are allowed to carry up to 21 players during the off-season and preseason, including up to 3 two-way contract players. The Heat currently has 17 players to sign to contracts. The 14 players who the Heat has signed to standard contracts are Bam Adebayo, Tyler Herro, Andrew Wiggins, Rozier, Powell, Davion Mitchell, Simone Fontecchio, Nikola Jovic, Kel'el Ware, Jamie Jaquez Jr., Kasparas Jakušionis, Pelle Larsson, Drew Smith, and Kashad Johnson. The two players who the Heat has signed to two-way contracts are Myron Gardner and Vlad Golden. The only player the Heat currently has signed to an Exhibit 10 contract is guard Ethan Thompson. Exhibit 10 deals essentially represent an invite to training camp and provide a financial incentive for that player to join the organization's G League affiliate. The Heat is scheduled to hold its annual media day on September 29th before opening training camp on September 30th at Florida Atlantic University in Boca Raton to kick off the 2025-26 NBA season. Step 1 of appeasing Giannis Antetokounmpo is complete, as he is set to fully participate in the Greece national team's Eurobasket 2025 exploits this summer. But while Antetokounmpo's focus at the moment is trained fully on international play, his future with the Milwaukee Bucks organization remains shrouded in uncertainty. Antetokounmpo has 3 years remaining on his current contract, with a player option for the 2027-28 campaign, but he has made known his desire to win another championship, and the possibility of him doing so outside the Badger State remains in play. Antetokounmpo to the Heat? It's worth considering, given the return. In the case that the Bucks decide to make Antetokounmpo available for trade, dozens of teams across the league will likely field calls with Milwaukee's front office. Bleacher Report's Zach Beckley proposed that the Miami Heat will be among those interested in landing him. A deal of this nature, however, could come at a great cost to the Heat's depth. Such a trade, according to Beckley, would require Miami to part ways with Tyler Herro, Kel'el Ware, Jamie Jaquez Jr., Terry Rozier, and 2 first-round draft picks in 2030 and 2032 in exchange for Antetokounmpo and Bobby Portis. It would also involve a swap of 2031 first-round picks. After keeping Ware out of the Kevin Durant trade talks, the Heat would clearly need a superstar to let their second-year center go. Since they also have a clear and long-standing fascination with Antetokounmpo, which, to be fair, most teams do, it might take a mega-trade with Milwaukee to get Ware out of Miami, Buckley wrote. Where looks like a legitimate building block, Jaquez would have been considered as such as recently as last summer, and Herro just booked his first All-Star season as a 25-year-old. Add the draft picks here, and that feels like enough for the Heat to at least entertain dreams of adding Antetokounmpo, whose resume features a couple of MVP awards, a Defensive Player of the Year honor, and a Finals MVP. As things currently stand, there is no indication that the Bucks are even considering trade offers from other teams for Antetokounmpo's services. But rumors about his potential departure from the organization will only continue to heat up until a firm decision about his future is made.